Preservation Aviation, located in Burbank, California, was at one time the largest broker of antique aviation gauges and dials in the nation, with an inventory of almost 1.5 million instruments. Unfortunately, much of Preservation Aviation's supply, which was housed in a structure and an open yard, was contaminated with phosphorescent paint containing radium-226. The glow-in-the-dark gauges help pilots navigate at night.
Roger. Out.
The facility has been here since 1957 and was sold in 1996 to its current owner. Around that time, the current owner sent a large amount of material to a scrap metal yard, at which time it set off the radiation detectors and caused the site to come to regulatory attention.
The initial assessment revealed gamma radiation exposure rates inside the 10,000 square foot masonry structure ranging from 100 to 500 times ambient background measurements, and radon levels 25 times the U.S. EPA limits for unlicensed facilities. In the yard, gamma radiation rates exceeded 250 times the background rates. Keeping workers safe throughout the cleanup was a top priority at Preservation.
From a health and safety perspective on the site, our biggest problem is contamination control. We want to keep the contamination in the hot zone. It's more of a problem than you would see at a lot of chem sites, mainly because you have radioactive materials mixed with all the dust on the site. In order to address this issue, we've set up a series of contamination control measures, including stringent decontamination for our personnel.
This program involves a frisking where we have a particular instrument that we look for contamination on the surface of their protective equipment, on their tools, and eventually on their skin itself. If we find contamination, it is removed, it is decontaminated. The instruments we do have are very sensitive. Each instrument undergoes an extensive quality assurance, quality control plan. And this plan dictates the initial calibration, daily checks, the maintenance that's performed, and helps us understand the repairs that need to be implemented if an instrument breaks or is malfunctioning.
Some of our other contamination migration protocols include weekly monitoring of all support zone and decon areas for residual radioactive contamination. Air surveillance programs. We run air surveillance every single day. It consists of high volume air samplers. The samples are then analyzed for alpha and beta radiation to determine how much is airborne. We also have long-term samplers for radon and gamma dosimeters on the site perimeter so we can assess the threat to the community.
The U.S. Coast Guard Pacific Strike Team conducted medical monitoring and collected daily dosimeter readings from all site personnel. Also, as part of the Contamination Migration Control Program, Coast Guard technicians conducted weekly alpha and beta radiation surveys in the support zone and on the street and the sidewalks in front of the site using a Ludlam floor monitor. Even with the stringent controls for radiation containment, workers still couldn't lose sight of basic safety priorities.
Everyone focuses on the chemical or the radioactive materials, but in reality it's the physical hazard that are the biggest threat. We have a forklift, heavy equipment, overhead hazards.
There's stuff stacked everywhere, all the way to the ceiling. The ceiling we're estimating is about 25 feet. There's aisles in there that have shelving units that are 15 feet tall that have literally thousands of drawers in them full of gauges.